What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtery here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some transfer portal needs for the Crimson Tide now that spring practice is over. And by my count right now, Alabama either has 80 or 81 players on scholarship. They got a couple guys that they got in the transfer portal, and I really don't know if they're technically on scholarship or not. So it's either 80 or 81 by my count there. So that does leave a couple spots for Alabama to add in that spring transfer portal coming up here in just a couple of days. Remember, it's only a 10-day transfer portal window, so Alabama's definitely going to have to make the most of their time if they're going to add a couple players in this transfer portal window. Now, the SEC this year is still maintaining that 85 scholarship limit for 2025. Obviously, there's that House versus NCAA lawsuit going on right now that is ultimately going to eliminate those scholarship limits. But for this 2025 season, at least, the SEC is still going to maintain that 85 scholarship limit, which I'll be honest, I kind of think that puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage, but it is what it is right now. So let me know here in the comment section of today's show, what is the biggest position that Alabama really needs to go after in the transfer portal? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's video. Definitely got a couple, and I'm going to list a couple that I think Alabama needs to go to here in just a second. All right, the first position in need for Alabama, I'm going to stick with that tight end room right now. You got just so many injuries right now in that tight end room. Really, you only have Jay Lindsey, one scholarship tight end, who is healthy right now. Josh Cuevas, Kalen DeBoer announced that him and Marshall Pritchett were not going to be participating in the rest of spring practice. Don't necessarily think Josh Cuevas is a, crazy injury or anything like that. I think he's probably nicked up, and they're just going to be safe with him. Marshall Pritchett, obviously, we showed him in that leg brace the other day, so don't quite know the severity of his injury yet, but obviously right now you don't have Caleb Edwards on campus, and Danny Lewis Jr. has been out for the entire spring. So I would assume by the time the season rolls around, all these guys are probably going to be good to go, but what happens if, a Danny Lewis Jr. goes down again or a Josh Cuevas goes down again? You got Jay Lindsey, who has been on campus here, for a year now, but then after that, it's like, are you really going to ask freshmen to go out there and, try to get the job done? I don't really know. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest transfer portal name out there, but I do think you need to probably add at least one more body to this tight end room. So let me know here at the pinned comment, how many players do you guys think Alabama will lose in the spring transfer portal window? Because it works both ways. You can get guys in, but you can definitely lose guys as well. So let me know what you guys think at the pinned comment of today's video. That ad is going to come right here on YouTube. That is totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down there and let me know what you guys think. All right, the next transfer portal need I want to talk about today is defensive line, and in particular, the interior of that defensive line right now. Alabama's defensive coordinator, Kane Womack, talked about this last month, back on March 7th. He was asked, how do you feel about that defensive line? Do you think you got enough guys right there in that defensive line right now? And he said, I don't know if I ever feel like I have enough depth on the interior. It's certainly an area that I think from a defensive standpoint, it's probably one of our biggest areas of depth concern. Development is the best recipe for that, but certainly we'll make sure we address those needs in any way we need before the season. To me, that sounds like, yes, one, they're going to try to develop guys as much as they can here during the springtime, but also sounds to me like they're also going to try to go out there in that transfer portal window and at least add maybe one, maybe two, defensive linemen. I think they said the other day that, Kelby Collins was also kind of working both inside and outside at that bandit spot and that interior spot. I do like Jeremiah Beeman. I think he showed some promise, towards the end of last season. James Smith, Tim Keenan, we all know what those guys can do, but really the main guys in terms of the development right now for Alabama is Edric Hill and Isaiah Faga. I think we've heard a lot of pretty promising stuff about Edric Hill. Hadn't heard a ton about Isaiah Faga, but you also have London Stimmons and Steve Mbamua also coming in as well from that 2025 signing class. So right now you have, 5, 6, 7 bodies on that interior of the defensive line. I would think you need to add at least 1 or 2 more bodies in that defensive line just to be safe anyways. Because if one of those guys goes down, then you're going out there and running out guys that haven't necessarily had a lot of playing time. And that, at the end of the day, does kind of make me a little bit nervous. We're going to continue with a couple more positions here in just a second, but today's show is presented by GameTime. GameTime makes getting tickets even faster and easier, and the prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price is guaranteed. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And it's not just MLB tickets. They have last-minute deals that can save you up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. I love going to stand-up comedy shows. That's one of my favorite things, tickets to buy on that GameTime app. You got Alabama versus Mississippi State baseball coming up this weekend. You got games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You guys can get your tickets on GameTime. Also got Talladega coming up here in just a couple of weeks as well. And then you also have Cardinals versus Braves coming up here on April 22nd, Chipper Jones bobblehead night. Definitely get your tickets for that. I'm pretty sure it's a all-star game bobblehead for Chipper Jones. So that's a pretty cool little thing that they're doing there. GameTime, you can also use the GameTime Picks feature. It just makes getting last-minute ticket buying even easier by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. Obviously, they also have that lowest price guaranteed, or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. And my favorite thing about GameTime, the seat views. You guys can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy your tickets, so you know exactly what your view is going to look like. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. That link is in the comment section and the description of today's video. So download the GameTime app today. They have last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, all guaranteed. All right, the next position in need for Alabama that I think they should pursue in the transfer portal is another offensive tackle. Look, right now, there's not a lot at that offensive tackle spot. Kalen Proctor is out for the spring right now. You got Wilkin Formby working over there at right tackle. Arkel Engwam, I'm still really not sure how to pronounce his name there. But then you got Hobson. He's another one of those guys that I'm not quite sure if he's technically on scholarship or not, but they have been talking about him. He has been practicing and things like that. But then you also do have Jackson Lloyd that's been working over there at those tackle spots as well. I believe even Ola Salinen has been taking snaps at that tackle spot as well. So, it sounds like he's done a pretty good job there, but they see him more as a guard. But like I said, Jackson Lloyd, obviously a freshman that you got. I think he was even a 5-star for a while, but by the time some of those final recruiting rankings came out, dropped down to the number 45 player overall. Still a very highly recruited player, and definitely probably going to be one of those guys that, Kalen Proctor, this might be his last year with Alabama before going off to the NFL. So Jackson Lloyd definitely might be that next guy up for Alabama. Definitely good that he's getting some spring reps here early on in his freshman season. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We are going up in our sub battle this month against the Ohio State Football Report, and we're doing a pretty good job beating them, but I want to keep it up. I want to break a record for subs in the month of April, so help me out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button and stay up to date on all Alabama football news. All right, the last position in need here, I think you might even have to add a quarterback in the transfer portal. You only have 3 bodies right now. That does make me a little bit nervous. And, we don't know what these guys are thinking. Everybody just kind of assumes that, somebody is eventually going to transfer out because that's just kind of how college football is going right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every single player thinks the exact same way. Now, if Ty Simpson ends up losing this quarterback battle, I would assume that, yes, he does end up hitting that transfer portal in either December or January because we're not going to know, before that spring transfer portal window hits who that quarterback is going to be. And Ty Simpson does only have 1 year left of eligibility after this season, going into his redshirt junior season. So, if Ty Simpson does end up losing that quarterback battle to either Austin Mack or Keelan Russell, which right now it seems like Ty is the favorite to win that battle, but, playing devil's advocate here, if he does lose it, I would assume he probably hits that transfer portal window. And, I would like to think that everybody is bought in and, they're willing to wait their turn and develop. But that's just not how college football works right now, and it's just hopium on my part because I don't want to see any of these guys leave. My perfect plan would be for Ty Simpson to win the quarterback battle, play great, and then next year, Austin Mack wins the quarterback battle, plays great, goes off to the NFL, for him too. And then you got Keelan Russell that can step in after being in this system for 2 years, going into his third year, but that might just not be realistic. Keelan Russell's an incredible talent, and I don't know if he's necessarily going to wait that long. And then there's also that possibility that Austin Mack could, play pretty well, but then want to return for another season. So what happens then? There's a lot of moving parts that could happen in this quarterback room, which means, and also adding this too, I think you might only get one quarterback in this 2026 recruiting class. So I think you definitely need to add at least one more body to that quarterback room here in the transfer portal. All right, so what do you guys think? Well, one of these three quarterbacks that are on the roster right now, Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelan Russell, will one of these guys eventually transfer from Alabama? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no in the comments section of today's show.